So when should you unlock the new units from the DLC, from the Xenologue and Fire Emblem Engage? I would say if you were doing a Maddening run and you want it to be as balanced as possible, meaning that you still want a challenge, I would recommend unlocking them around the mid-game. If you want to unlock them early, it is going to destroy your early game experience by giving you a bunch of essentially overpowered units in terms of stats and levels for the early game chapters. So I created a master file where I did all of the paralogs and then I did the Xenologue on normal. It's a maddening run, like the actual save file is maddening. But if you want to get the characters early, you can do a normal run as like you can change the difficulty independent of the main game. And having done that, I can honestly say I don't recommend it because it just gives you an entirely overpowered team. Like you have all the DLC units, which are like level 20, and then you have all these like paralog, divine paralog, power leveled units. So definitely learn from my mistake. Like, this game is very hit or miss with a lot of things. Like sometimes, you'll try something and it's very hard, and then other times you'll try something and it just happens to like break the game accidentally. And in this case, I've kind of done that. But that being said, if you want to have the most balanced experience with the new units, I would recommend doing no divine paralogs at all in general and just beat the Xenologue on normal around chapter 13 to 17, depending on when you want to unlock them. Now, it'll still be an advantage. It'll still make the game easier if that is a concern. But as long as you don't do the divine paralogs, I would say that's like the best use case for balancing purposes. Now, if you just want to get them right away, you can unlock them. If you already find the early to mid game easy and this doesn't bother you, then you can just unlock them, as soon as you unlock the Xenologue, which I believe is chapter 7. But that being said, there is a thing you should know about if you plan on doing divine paralogs. So if you want to do divine paralogs in the early to mid game, if you do the Xenologue, it's going to drastically spike the difficulty because the way that the divine paralogs work is that it looks at your team, it looks at all their levels. So if you have a bunch of high level units, the game is going to say, okay, you're a high level team, I'm going to hand you a paralog, a divine paralog, where everything is scaled to the average of your team. So now you're going to have to fight these crazy enemies that are going to destroy you. So there is a huge downside if you do plan on unlocking the Xenologue characters kind of like halfway through a playthrough, and then you also want to start doing divine paralogs around that time. It'll make them much harder. So essentially, the DLC is in conflict with itself, and this is something you should be aware of, because you might be pleasantly surprised by the fact that your divine paralogs are insanely hard out of nowhere after doing the Xenologue. So just something to be aware of. Personally, I think the best way to use these new units, if you want the most balanced playthrough, would be to do it around like chapter 16, maybe chapter 17. 16 or 15, whatever, like an early mid-game thing, like 15 to 17, I would say is like the ideal range. But if you want to do it like chapter 13 just to start running them, that's fine too. You have to keep in mind they're a little bit over-leveled. Not too much. They're around the like time era is like level 18, so it's not too much of a stretch to start at 13, but the earlier you unlock them, the easier it will be. But yeah, that's it for this one. I just want to talk about when you should unlock them. Now, if you want to use them post-game, you're not going to really be able to use them that much. You're going to have to power level them on skirmishes where everything has like crazy stats. So honestly, the DLC could have been implemented better. It's unfortunate, but this is what we got. All right. So definitely like and subscribe if you found this useful or interesting, and feel free to drop a comment and let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next one.